time.
All right, here we go with another Square Dance Callers Talking. Tonight, I thought I was making a big deal when I was talking to people in California on the West Coast from Georgia. Tonight, I am going international. I have an international caller, a gentleman who's recorded some music, and he's done a lot of other things in the Square Dance calling industry. We're going to talk to him tonight. Tonight, I have Philipp Kamm. How are you, sir?
I'm very fine. Thank you, Charlie.
Man, it is a pleasure to finally meet you. We've never met before. I've watched some of your YouTube stuff, some of your videos that are out there, and listened to your music, and really enjoy that. I've bought some of your music on TBT already, so really enjoy that. So where are you in Germany, sir?
I am in the southwestern part of Germany.
Okay.
It's about an hour south from Frankfurt, if you're familiar with Frankfurt.
Okay.
That's the biggest airport in Germany. We're located right between Heidelberg, which is maybe familiar to some Americans, probably a lot of Americans, and right in the middle between Heidelberg and Karlsruhe. That's where I'm located.
All right. Well, I'm sure a lot of the people that have watched some of these podcasts didn't know who you are until now. So that's another reason I told you that I decided to do the podcast, because I want all the guys that are guys and gals, that women, ladies, that get out there. They don't get to travel as much. Have you ever come to the United States calling or no?
Well, I've been to the United States before. I've done some guest tips there, but not been hired for a dance yet or something. It's just, I think I've been to the States 4 times and did something like 3 guest tips over there in 2 times I was there. That was back in 1987. I've been to Virginia.
Okay.
And traveled with the Greyhound to El Paso, Texas from there.
From Virginia?
Yes.
Well, that's a pretty good ride right there, buddy.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Well, maybe I have to tell you the story. I was there with my girlfriend back then. She was half American, half German. And we visited her sister. And after a week we've been there, she broke up with me. And yes. So I was stuck in Virginia with her family and her and not being together anymore, and we stayed at the sister's house. And so I thought, what could I do? And I had some friends in El Paso, and so I thought, I called them and said, hey, this is what happened, can I come? And they said, of course you can. And well, I was 19, I think, at the time. Yes, I was 19 that year and didn't have much money, and so I thought, let's travel there by Greyhound, which was a two-day drive, going all day, all night. It was a crazy thing, yes. But I got to see the country. You know, it was my first time I was there, and I got to see the country. Got to meet some people on the bus and some hillbillies and stuff. And yeah.
Very nice.
It was an experience.
Man, that's a great story. Gosh, and you were 19. I can't imagine that.
19, yes.
You've got the makings of a country song right there, by the way. You know, just come in here.
I should write one about it.
Yeah, coming to the States and your girlfriend breaking up with you, and just you're kind of high and dry here in the States, and you just decide to travel across it. Man, that's a great story. That's awesome. So that was 1987.
That was 1987.
Okay.
Yes.
So when did you start square dancing?
I started square dancing in 1976.
Okay.
I was in a children's class, kids class, Sunday afternoon. My parents had been square dancing for, I think, about 2 years. My dad was becoming a caller, or was a caller at the time already. And so they decided to put me on the floor too.
Oh, nice.
And that's when I also did my first singing call before my graduation. I didn't even know what I was doing. It was just a popular song at the time. It was a song by John Denver called Country Roads, but the square dance version was called West Virginia. And everybody was doing it at the time. And that was a time when still everybody did the whole, the figures like they were on the record. you know. And so I knew everything by heart just from hearing it. I was a kid, you know, 8 years old. And so my dad put me on, I think he was at some kind of caller clinic that they had Sunday afternoon or so. And he put me on stage, was standing behind me, tried to help me if I needed help, put me up there, and I did my first singing call, 1976, 8 years old. I don't have my own remembrance of it, or not very much. I couldn't tell you the exact date or anything, but that was the first time back then, before my graduation. There's a funny story. You're looking for funny stories,
Yeah,
as I know.
absolutely.
And the funny story is, like I said, everybody's doing the figure the same way, like it was on the record. And we didn't have one day the highest move in that sequence was spin chain through. And one day we had spin chain through in our class, but we didn't do the singing call. I don't know, for whatever reason, the caller didn't do it. And so I came home. My dad wasn't with me that day, only my mom. And I came home, and I must have told him, I don't have my own remembrance, but they always told me. I said, Dad, now I need another 2 moves, and then I can do West Virginia. And he said, what's that? And I said, country roads and take me home, because I didn't know any English at the time. I didn't speak English, you know, so I didn't know that was words to it. And I thought, yeah, country roads take me home is 2 more figures I need to know so I can do the song. I can dance it, you know. Yeah, that's how it went.
That's good. Well, man, I had no idea. So you're born and raised in Germany, yeah?
Yes, right.
Okay. Yeah, because
right in this area where I'm at now. I was born in Heidelberg, been raised around Heidelberg, and now, yeah, live not too far from it.
the English is fantastic. So did you just learn that in school? How'd you pick up English?
I learned English in school. After another 2 years that I danced, I think it was 78 or so. We had it in school, 5th grade, and I learned the basics there. And I had a will to learn it, you know, and I had the chance to use it, because back then we still had Americans around. There was lots of Americans dancing, military personnel, and so I had the chance to speak it. So that's where it came from. And then I listened to country music a lot and started doing singing calls, and that's where the accent came from. Yes.
Okay, outstanding.
And that's the most thing I was worried about this podcast here, because I'm not a native speaker, to not get stuck and you know, sometimes looking for words or something, and I was worried a bit, not really worried, but yeah, that was the thing about it. But I think it'll work.
yeah, I'm having no issues at all. So that's fantastic, man. So you did your first singing call. When did you decide you wanted to be a square dance caller and get into the pattern and the whole lifestyle of it?
Well, decision, I don't know. I started practicing singing calls, I think somewhere around 1981, somewhere around that area. Started taking records from my dad. We still had records then. Practiced them, and once in a while I got a chance to do it at some kind of club picnic or at a weekend where there was callers from the floor or something. And so I did singing calls. And then in October 1982, there was a weekend. My dad was on the program. It was just the club and guests, but it was 3 hours from where we lived. And I wanted to do a singing call or two at the callers from the floor Sunday afternoon. And he said, do you do pattern? And I said, no. And he said, you're not going to call. And I was, a little frustrated. And then 3 months later, it was January of 1983. He was calling for a club Saturday night, and we drove there, and he had a cold. And after the first tip, he said, I'm not going to do any singing call tonight anymore. If you dancers want singing calls, you got to do them yourself. And then he came down from the stage and asked me, "Are you going to do a tip?" And I said, "Of course." He said, "Do you do pattern?" I said, "Yeah." And I wanted to get on that stage,
Yeah.
and I didn't know what I was doing. I just stood up there and did some put out some calls that fit together, but I didn't have a clue how to get people back together. And I just did it, and then he came up and he kind of helped me, and then he said, "Okay, now we got to work." And so what he did is he taught me the basics of sight calling. Sunday afternoon, we had a makeup class for the students, and an hour before he ordered a square, and then he put numbers on their backs, like couple number one, couple number two, three, and four, and he taught me the basics of sight calling. And that's what I learned. And that's what I consider when I started calling. That was January of 1983. So this year it was 40 years in January that I've been calling.
That's definitely one of the influences. Were there other callers that influenced you along the way too, or no?
Well, kind of, yes. There were, we had records, and basically what I could listen to from the United States was records. So the guys that influenced me was the guys that were big at the time, the staff callers from Rhythm Records, the staff callers from Chaparral, which were Rhythm was Wade Driver, Pat Barber. I love Pat Barber. He's got a great voice, a great singer. And then there was Bob Bayer or Bayer, I don't know.
It's Bear. I believe it's Bear. Yes.
Yes, okay. Bob Bayer, Kip Garvey was on Rhythm, and then on Chaparral you had Ken Bauer, Gary Shoemake, Jerry Haig, and Beryl Main was the fourth. Yeah, so they kind of influenced me. And then we had, of course, callers over here in Germany. Al Stevens, you might know him. I don't know.
I've heard the name. I don't know him.
He's accredited caller coach. He was the first one outside the U.S. And he was a big influence on me. He now lives in, he doesn't live too far away from you. He lives in Alabama now.
Oh, does he?
But
Okay.
I don't think he's active anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was a big influence. Of course, yeah, Kenny Rees, you might not know him. He was over here. He was from Texas, but he lived over here, did all his career over here. And yeah, those were my influences, I would say, yes, calling wise. Tony Oxendine, of course, he was on Ranch House Records.
Ranch House.
When you had him there, he said that his first record he ever did was Hitchhike. That's one of his favorites, and I know the song because that was popular at the time, you know.
Outstanding. Yeah, I've got, like you said, I've probably got 8 or 10, 12 people that were really big influences upon me. Some of them, same thing. I heard. I'd never actually met. Now, in the time that I've spent over here, I've met quite a few of them, and all really welcoming. And Gary Shoemake, I've had a chance to talk to quite often. Mr. Driver, have not talked to him very often. I've met him at Caller Labs, stuff like that.
Well, actually, I haven't really met them. I've met Pat Barber when he was in Sweden back in, I don't know, 87, I think. Okay, I've seen Wade Driver when he was over here in Karlsruhe back in 1980, I don't know, 85, I think it was. But I haven't really talked to him or talked to the other guys. And Ken Bauer, Gary Shoemake, Bob Bayer, I've never seen him live, just from the records.
Now, so you've never come over for any like national conventions or anything like that? No. Really should plan on one of them. First of all, they're just great. You get to meet everybody, or a lot of people, and the dancing is really good. It's well done, you know. Now I understand that, like say in Germany, Japan, other countries, that it's a very high level of dance. Is that correct? Do you think?
Well, I don't know how the level is in the US really.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. I know that it's very
But I've
specific.
heard that too, and I think we've got a good level over here.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, we've had callers from the States over here. The last one that I've met was Ted
Mhm.
when he was here in May, and he was yeah, he was calling a high level, but I don't know if he can call that at home too. I mean, he's got his tech squares that
Yeah,
he can probably do it, but
yeah,
maybe not on the nationals and what have you.
yeah.
I've been told that, so yes, I'll find
Yeah.
out in February
Okay. So you're coming in February?
for the cruise.
Oh, you're on the cruise. I forgot about. That's fantastic. I'll get to meet you
I'm on.
then.
Yes, right.
I'm
That's
going.
when we'll meet in
That is
person.
great. Well, you'll get
That's
to
what
meet.
I like about the podcast, you know.
Mhm,
You're interviewing a lot of the guys that are on the cruise that
mhm.
I don't know yet,
Yep.
and I get to work with them, and so I have the chance to get to know them a bit before,
That
and
is
that's
fantastic,
what I
man.
like about
That's
the podcast here.
I didn't even think about that. You're going to be on the cruise. That is great. And it will be. I've never been on a square dance cruise before. I've
Me
taken a
neither.
few cruises in my life, but never square dance related. And when I found out who all was calling on that, I was like, man, I've got to go to this just to hang out with them afterwards and dance to them.
Hmm.
Yeah, but on the dance level, I guess part of that is because now you speak and understand English quite well. I can take that from
Hmm.
just our comment. I'm sure there's a lot of people who dance that don't know any English other than the square dance words.
That's
So
correct.
that's
Yes.
why I've always figured that it might be, it's not a higher level of dance, but it's more technically correct because you have to do what's being said. Where over here, you hear, you know, follow the neighbor, and it means something completely different than if you don't know what the words are. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's now on the levels. How high do you dance and call level wise?
I call basic, mainstream, and plus,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I also dance. I'm learning A1 now. I'm teaching my plus group A1. So what I do is read the definitions and teach them to them. And so it'll be interesting when I get the chance when I get my first time to dance A1, because I haven't danced it yet.
Okay.
And I'm not through all the figures yet, so I couldn't go on the dance and do it. But that'll be interesting what happens when I go on the dance floor to dance A1, which I have not danced before, but I'm teaching my dancers, calling it, knowing definitions. I just wonder what happens. I have no idea.
You think you're going to be able to do that when we get to the boat on the cruise?
Well, the thing is, on the cruise, you're going to have A1 and A2. You've got
Mhm.
the whole A level,
Yeah,
and we'll not be there then.
I got you. Okay.
We're first going to learn A1, which is 30 moves, which is a lot.
Yeah.
And all of my dancers don't do it, me neither. So we're going to do A1 and stick with it. Over here in Germany, maybe even Europe, we have a level A1 that we offer in dance,
Okay.
unlike the US where you dance the whole program, but hardly um, offer A1 dances.
Gotcha.
You have the A2 level
Yeah.
as a level, or A level as a level, but we have A1 and A2. And so we're not going to be there for the cruise yet. No.
Okay. Well, you get to watch some of it at least, see it, so that'll be good too.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So now, and I'm sure it's kind of the same, but in Germany, what are some of the venues? What type of venues do you call at? I mean, here it's YMCA's, it's schools, the senior centers. What do you call over there?
Well, we got schools, yes. We got I don't know, like town halls or social, how would you call that?
Like a
I have no
recreation center type place?
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that for club evenings, and then for special dances, you got yeah, bigger sports halls and stuff. And if you're asking me about a favorite venue,
Yeah. What's something that stands out
no,
to you?
um, there's one that I haven't called, but I've been to as a dancer,
Mhm.
and they don't do it there anymore. But the club that my parents learned to dance, and I've been their club caller later. They had an annual dance on the Heidelberg Castle. The Heidelberg Castle is a yeah, parts of it is in ruins, but the King's Ball is still there. And they had an annual dance in the King's Ball there in Heidelberg, which was just great. It fit, I don't know how many people it fit in, but back in those times, we didn't have that many special dances as we have today.
Right.
So there were more people coming to one dance.
Mhm.
So it was always a big crowd, a good crowd. And now the other one that I have called was at the same location. It was that same dance. They in the Heidelberg Castle, they have the biggest wine barrel that was ever filled with wine. It was not completely filled with wine, but it was filled with wine, and it's the biggest barrel there is. And on top of that barrel, there's a stage that just fits one square in the collar. So what they did is at the dance, they made people go down there and dance on the wine barrel to get their wine stompers badge. And they had the new coming callers up there for the wine barrel. And that was my very first special dance that I ever did. It was back in 1984. I was hired for that. And that's a cool location.
Wow,
And
sounds like.
been there as a dancer and then as a caller, but I never made it to the King's Ballroom, unfortunately. By the time I was their club caller in 1998, they had a different location because the Heidelberg Castle was too expensive to rent for a dance.
Well, that sounds about as good as it gets as far as venues. A castle. Great. That's very nice. Very
Yeah.
nice. Now, tell me if it's not the same or not. A dance here, typically, whether it be a club dance or hey, we're going to hire you for our for a holiday dance, whatever, Fourth of July.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
typically 2 hours with mainstream and plus, unless because I don't call advanced or C1 or any of that, but it's mainstream and plus, and then there's typically rounds in between.
Mm-hmm.
What's a typical dance for you in Germany? How do y'all do it?
Well, if it comes to club dances, club
Mhm.
nights, it's like 2 to 3 hours, depending on the club.
Right.
And it's mainly one level. Like if you have a mainstream club, it's mainstream level. If you have a plus club, it's plus level. I've got a club. We have 2 nights. Monday night I call plus, and right now teaching A1, but it'll only be plus or right now the A1 part. And Wednesday nights we have mainstream. A lot of clubs over here don't have rounds in between. Some do, but most of them don't. And maybe some clubs have like, if they're a mainstream club, most of them are mainstream clubs.
Mhm.
Some of them have like an hour or half an hour before where they have a different level, like plus an hour before or something like that.
Okay.
Now that's for normal club nights.
Gotcha.
If you talk of special dances, of course they're longer. It's like typical special dances Saturday afternoon, starting maybe like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then it lasts till 10 maybe, and you have different levels, different program types. Like you have a workshop, you have singing calls for an hour, or you have maybe mainstream plus alternating tips, something like that. Maybe you have a plus to start with, or maybe you have A1 to start with for an hour, and then you go to plus, and then you go to mainstream, stuff like that, or split levels. But that's the special dances that
Wow,
we
that
have
is
Saturdays,
okay.
and some of them are weekends too.
Right.
Weekend dances.
Very nice. Yeah, there there used to be some plus clubs in this area where I am in Georgia. But after COVID and everything, with the numbers going down like they did, a lot of them went to, so all the clubs are alternating tips, mainstream and plus. And as we were talking before we started recording, there's a group down in Atlanta called Hot Atlanta Squares, and they danced A and C, and they will do that. They'll do mainstream plus, advanced, and maybe throw in a C tip every now and then. That'll be their whole dance. They'll go all night just alternating. But most everywhere that I call and I'm around, it's always mainstream plus, and they alternate. It's typically 2 hours, typically 7 to 9, 8 to 10, just depending. So, wow, that's a long day, 8 hours. Great, good. That's good.
Well, yeah, like I said, that's Saturday special dance, you know. Yeah. And often you get to share a program with another caller, so you don't have to do the whole program. But sometimes I don't, and I do it on my own. And well, these are kind of the dances that I like most, because when I can just throw everything at them and kind of control the dance, you know, and don't have someone to tear down the mood and I have to build back up again. That's what I like doing. On the other hand, I like calling with other callers too, doing duets and stuff and harmonizing, and yeah, both, of course. There used to be a dance in our area always at the beginning of the year, and they'd flip who was the host between the clubs in the town. You know, one year it was the one club, next year it was the other, and everyone brought their club caller to the dance, and so it was like 5 or 6 club callers there sharing the dance. And then you'd do one tip, and then you'd have to wait another hour and a half to do the next tip. And that was, I didn't like that, because you know, you just warmed up for the one tip and then you went off the stage. Another 1.5 hours later, you came up again, different crowd, you know, and you had to warm up again. I don't like those kind of dances. I like working when I do the dance, you know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I do know what you mean on that. I enjoy doing stuff with other callers, whether it be duets or whatever. But yeah, I don't like big gaps in the wait time. Like, you know, just like you said, if there's 3 or 4 callers and you're just taking every other tip or whatever, you got to wait 3 tips to get back up there, because you try and set not a mood, but you set a tempo. You know, you start off with some of your stuff and you work your way up, and there's maybe a call that you want to work in and get the dancers to get correct to get into a singing call. And it's tough when you've got a 45-minute, you know, to an hour gap in between that. You can't really. So, oh, that's very good. Oh, before we get out of the square dance part of it there, you call mainstream and plus and basic. What's your favorite call if you have one?
My favorite, I have one, yes. It is relay to Ducey.
Nice. Okay.
I like that one, not because it gives me time to think for the next move. That's not it. I like the way it flows, you know. The timing on that one I like. Everybody's working and everybody's moving. I just found out trying to teach A1. There's a move called, what's the name of it? Hell, Cast a Shadow, I think it is.
Cast a Shadow.
This one has got a bad timing, in my opinion. You know, the one doing the 3/4 turn and the others only do 1/4 turn. And so the ones in the center having to wait for the others to make room for them. You know, I don't like that. Really don't like that one. It is there, I will call it, but I don't like it. But relay to Ducey is one that I like, because everybody's moving, everybody's working at the same time, and that's one I like.
Yeah, that was when I was talking. That's one of my favorite calls, relay to Ducey. One, it gives you a little bit of, it gives you a few seconds to see where everybody's going, what's happening. But also, I like the way it looks when everybody, it's like circular patterns, and everybody's going around. You got the outsides and the insides are trading. I just like the way it looks.
Exactly. Yes. Me too.
And when it's all said and done, it's a big 0. I know exactly where everybody's going to be when they're done. You know, and but they've been all over the floor. You know.
Yes.
So
Flip sides.
Yeah. Very nice. So you've recorded some songs now. Tell me about that.
Yes. You want to know how it got to that?
Sure.
Okay. Well, my first singing call I recorded was 20 years ago with Snow Records, but I don't think that drew too much attention. Um, Now, let me tell you the whole story. Back in 2021, it was COVID, it was lockdown, we couldn't go to dance, and someone sent me a song, which was called The Weatherman. I don't know if you've seen our video or not.
I watched it last week. Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. So someone sent me that song. It was Sergey of the group. He sent me that song, but didn't say anything to it. He just sent it to me. And he often sends me songs to do something with them for square dance stuff. And he did with that one, but didn't say anything. And I thought that might make a good singing call. And back then, I was entertaining my group, which couldn't dance, with recording singing calls for them and publishing them on the what you call it, secret part of the homepage of the club. You know, where not everybody can go, just the dancers with a password. And I did some songs for them, and I thought this would make a good one, a Weatherman. But then I thought, I don't know if you know the story behind it with that Scottish postman that put out, he recorded the song. It was an old sea shanty, and he recorded it with just his voice and a beating on the back of a guitar, and then he put it on TikTok. And from all over the world, people started adding their harmonies to it. No, and it became popular when it went viral. It's that V and W I have problems with, where you can't tell I'm not a native speaker.
Oh, you got it. You got it.
Anyway, that thing just went viral. And he even had the chance to quit his job as a postman and got a recording contract afterwards. But anyway, he sent me that song, and I thought this might make a good singing call, but I am not going to do that on my own with the story behind it, you know? And so I asked 6 of my friends if they would join me, and they all agreed. Funny thing is, not everybody knew each other. Some of the people still haven't met until today in person, you know? And so we thought, yeah, we'll do that song. And then I started telling them what I wanted and send them a demo of what I wanted. And they recorded their stuff. We added harmonies. We added the haze and the hose, and somewhere in between, at a pretty early stage, Martin said, "Why don't we do a video?" And I said, "Well, let's first do the vocal and then think about the video." And then on St. Patrick's Day in 2021, we published the audio of it, you know, and within 3 days, we got 1,500 views on that audio. And people started asking, who is everybody? One guy, Sergey, he didn't want his name on there because he was a teacher. And he was scared that his students might come and say, "Hey, what are you doing there? You're a square dance caller? What's that?" You know? And so he was scared of it. But then we had a kind of success with those 1,500 views. And then we said, after Wednesday it came out, Friday we decided we're going to make a video of it, you know. And but nobody had ever done a video before of us. So what do? And then Martin had the idea of having a Zoom conference and just recording that with us singing to it, you know, lip syncing. And I thought that's not a good idea. But then Patty had presented us an idea that he could do it, and we said yes. And then within Friday, we decided to do it. Saturday, we found out how we'll do it. Saturday and Sunday, we started recording the videos, and then Patty put it together within a week. And a week after, on Sunday, 8 March, we published the video of the Weatherman, which within 24 hours got us 3,000 views all over the world. Even Tony Oxendine had seen it, you know.
Wow.
And on that Zoom meet, before we put it out, we had a Zoom meeting where we said, okay, why don't we do another project, maybe around Christmas? And I had in mind doing something like Jingle Bells, because there's no musical rights to it. That was also the advantage of the Wellerman. There was no problems with those music rights, you know, because it's an old sea shanty. Nobody's got the rights, and that's how we could do it. And and when I said that, Martin looked at me. I think he looked at me because everybody looks at you at the same at the Zoom meeting, you know. But I think he looked at me and said, "Why don't we write our own song?" And okay, so I did. That same year, I started thinking and wrote a song, wrote a Christmas singing call. And then I thought how we're going to record this, how we're going to do it. We don't have any musicians and stuff. And I had in mind we'll do an a cappella version of it. But my fellow callers didn't like that idea. And I had cut a track with drums that I got from the internet, and I played guitar with it. I'm not a good guitar player. I'm just strumming, but it was enough for that. And I had a version that I could show them how the song would work, and I had a version where I could try it with my dancers, and so I did. And then Sergey, he had an old friend who was a musician, and then he had another a second one who'd played the accordion. And so in November of 21, we recorded the song, the music to it. And then it was too late for us in time for Christmas to make a video like the Wellerman. And we thought, what the hell are we going to do with the song? And then we thought about publishing it to other callers, but how? We didn't have a record label or stuff. And so we'd asked a few labels, and Ted was the one who agreed to record, to publish the song. So that's what we did in December of 21. We published that singing call. It got a lot of views on YouTube, about 1,100 something, but it didn't sell, not at all. But I was in contact with Ted, and that's how I got to be a staff artist with TVT. Through that song, having contact with Ted, showing him what I can do, what that I can do singing calls and stuff, and that's how we got in touch with each other. We hadn't met before. The first time I met him was this year in April, that I met Ted in person. You know, so that's how it came that I am with Throwback Tunes, and then there was a song that he wanted to do with me that I sent him, that I had the idea to, and which was California, which was just released 2 weeks ago.
It was?
Yes. And that was a song that I'd suggested to him. And that's what he wanted to start with. But then he was on a cruise and said he's going to get back in touch with me. And well, 2 weeks after a cruise, and I got in contact with him and saying, okay, what's up? And he said, okay, I've got some music ready and done that I need to get out first before we start working on California. But you can do some of it if you want. And that's how I got Circles, and that's how I got Something to Say, which were the first two that I got from him, and said, why don't you put the vocals on it? And I said, yeah. I didn't know Circles. Well, I heard it on the radio, but I didn't really know the song. And then I worked on it, and yeah, made a version that he liked. Yeah, the rest is history.
I purchased Circles. I am a Post Malone fan, and
I've seen you do it.
Oh,
I've
okay,
seen the video that you had made on the Georgia.
At the state convention in Georgia last year, I did it,
yes.
And
I've seen that video. Yes,
I really enjoy doing it, but I love the music that was with it, and
yes. Great music.
The pattern that you put in there is the one that I typically use. But the only, if there's a stumbling block at all, you just don't hear Box the Nat a lot down here. I mean, on occasion you do. So I have to, and I forgot all about it at the state convention, but I try and work Box the Nat into my pattern if I'm going to do circles following it. You know, and so that way it works out much better. But I really like doing it at that at the state convention. That was a lot. That was really.
I think what makes it even harder, it's not only a Box the Nat, but it's a square through on the third hand Box the Nat.
Yeah, that's the other thing, and I try and put that into my pattern. Matter of fact, that whenever I go to do a dance, if not for my club, if I'm going either do a guest tip or do a special dance that somebody hires me for, I take little flashcards with me, and I'll put up there like tip 1, do square through it on the third hand, Box the Nat, and that way I'll put it in my pattern. I won't forget because I know circles is coming up after it. Little things like that. That way also it helps me with my I try not to, if I don't have something written down over on the side as a reminder, I'll get into plus and I'll start doing the same 6 or 7 pattern. So I'll put over there, focus on diamonds, and that way I'll glance. I'm like, oh, let's do some diamonds, and then I'll do diamonds, and do relay the deucey, because I'll call and I'll forget all about relay the deucey, although it's one of my favorite ones, just like yours. So I'll have a little reminder sitting off to the side of my laptop, focus on whatever, and so and I will do that square through, but on the third hand, Box the Nat.
Okay. See, this is something that over here you don't have to really workshop when you want to do it in a singing call. I can just do it. Maybe that's the difference between the levels in the US and over here.
It may be, because a lot of times, just like that, and I tell the dancers that a lot, to get out and dance to other callers when you have the opportunity. If you have regardless of how good a club caller may be, if that's the only person that you dance to, that's great. But when you go to a state convention or you go to a special dance on a weekend somewhere and it's another person, they're calling the same level, but they might, just like that, you won't hear certain calls because your club caller it's not what they don't think about it. So you got to get out. To be a better dancer, you've got to dance to other people. You can't dance to the same person. I told people that when I was just a dancer, because I danced for a long time prior to calling.
Absolutely. That's the same over here. You got to go out and go to other callers, listen to them. Everybody's got their own style. Everybody's got their own things that they do. And if you want to be a better dancer, go out and dance to other callers. Same over here.
That's the best part. And I do it like we just got finished with nationals in Alabama last month, and if I'm not calling, I'm dancing, or I'm just sitting on the side of the stage, and I'll take my phone and set it up there, and I'll record people I don't know doing pattern. I recorded everything I saw of Ted's, Tony's, Jet Roberts. I record all those guys, and then I come home and I'll listen to it, and I'm like, oh, I'll grab that. I like that little move right there, and I'll write it down and I'll work it into my own pattern. So I learn as much from other callers as a dancer might if you'd go, and just to make me a better caller. That is awesome. So Circles, California, and the Weatherman, I did look that up. Ted had actually mentioned it to me. I told him last week I talked to him about some other stuff, and I told him that I was talking to you this week. So he mentioned the Weatherman. That's why I looked it up. It's a fantastic video. It's very good.
Yeah, I like it. When I started that thing, I didn't have the idea of a video, and just seeing that come out, it was just great, and for the whole week that Patty was working on the video, we didn't have no idea what was getting out of it, and then 1 week later he presented it to us, and I saw it for the first time. I said, wow, this is great.
It really was.
Yes.
Very well done. That is for sure.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
absolutely. It's a pleasure, and I'll put a link to it if I can figure that out, because like we talked before, I don't
Hmm.
know how to edit or anything really on this program that I use,
Yeah.
but I've just figured out how to put music on. So, well, man, so we got the sea shanty and all that. How about this? If you're not listening to square dance music, what kind of music do you listen to?
Well, I am, my music is country of the 80s and 90s. That's what I grew up with. My favorite band is Alabama.
Okay.
I listened to Restless Heart, Sawyer Brown, Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. That was my bands back in the 80s that I listened to, and stuff like George Strait, Ricky Skaggs, and that's what I grew up with. Later, I added something like Bryan Adams and Huey Lewis, like those guys too. But my music is country of the 80s and 90s, preferably. There's some of the newer stuff that I like. And yeah, some is just okay, it's there.
I agree. I
But
agree with
I've
you.
heard a lot of people saying that that they can't, how do you say that, that they yeah, that they're country, but they're not with the contemporary country of today.
Yeah, no, it's certainly not what I grew up on and uh, listened to in the 80s and 90s. I
Hmm.
was in high school in the 80s, so I was all over the board being from Georgia. So I listened to country, I listened to rap because it was starting to come out pretty big in the 80s. Um,
Hmm.
and rock also. But being from a small town, the concerts we got were country and rap and other type things. We didn't get a lot of like heavy rock coming
Hmm.
through just because we didn't have the venue to hold it. So you have
Hmm.
to drive a couple hours to that. Now, that
Hmm.
being said, so did any rock, hair band, metal, anything like that for you?
No,
Because
metal is
I
not
have to
mine.
ask, man, what my top three bands, it's
I
Metallica,
know that one
Def
is the
Leppard.
Scorpions.
I was just fixing to say, you're not a Scorpions fan? Come on.
No, although they are from Germany.
Yep. God,
Well,
I
I
love the
know some of their
Scorpions.
songs, and some of their songs are good, but I wouldn't consider myself a fan, you
Okay.
know.
Okay.
I know Wind of Change is a great song.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't consider myself a fan of the
Okay.
Scorpions.
All right. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't even
But
think
yes,
about
they're a
that till
German
we started.
band, and
I
yeah.
didn't think about it till we started talking tonight, and I was like, wait a minute, Scorpions are from Germany. Okay. Oh, so now this part I've done with everybody, and so I know you kind of knew it was coming, but I don't know. Being from Germany, you've seen a lot of stuff from the States, obviously, but movies and TV. I mean, I'm
Hmm.
sure y'all get everything there also, but I don't know where you are with watching certain things and all that. Footloose with Kevin Bacon and Dirty Dancing. If you have a
Dirty
choice.
Dancing, because that's the one I've watched. I haven't seen Footloose.
Okay, Patrick Swayze. Okay, you should go back and find the original Footloose, not that thing they made a few years back. The
Hmm.
original Footloose with Kevin Bacon's fantastic.
Okay. I haven't
Braveheart.
seen it, but I could have probably, yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure I can get it.
Okay.
And maybe one day I'll have to see it, but I haven't seen it,
Nah,
yes.
it's a lot of fun. It's an enjoyable thing. It came out when I was in high school, and I kind of got a it kind of was, I thought it's a good movie. I liked it, and the music's fantastic.
Hmm. Okay.
Braveheart or Gladiator?
Braveheart.
Mhm.
Two reasons. I haven't seen Gladiator. I've seen Braveheart, but I am, how do I say that? I'm into Scotch whiskey. I like Scotch whiskey, single malt whiskey. So Braveheart is Scotland.
Sir, we are
And
going to have a good time on the cruise. I will tell you that right now.
yeah,
Uh,
I've heard that you drink whiskey, but do you drink Scotch or do you drink bourbon?
both.
I
I
haven't
think
found a bourbon yet that I like.
one of my favorites right now. It's called, and I've got a bottle over there right now. It's called Monkey Shoulder. It's a Scotch whiskey.
Okay.
Very
Hmm.
good. But I just like whiskey, bourbons, and all that, and so
Hmm.
Scotch, absolutely. Um,
Hmm.
so we'll explore that in February for sure. No
for
doubt
sure.
about that. Oh my gosh, that's great. And because I also, I mean, I'm not going to turn beer down either, but typically on the cruises, the ones that I've been on, it's your Budweisers and light beers and Coors and all that, which is fine, but I just don't care for that at all.
Okay, me
I like
neither.
I like something a little more crafty or high alcohol, that type of stuff, and you don't find that on the cruises, unfortunately. So that's why I kind of lean toward the bourbons and whiskeys for sure.
Okay.
But we will certainly look into that.
Sure
Goodfellas or
will.
Godfather? What do you think?
Pardon?
Goodfellas, the movie, or Godfather?
Haven't seen each of any of them.
You could probably pass
Neither,
on
you would say.
Goodfellas. That's really good. Godfather, Academy Award, and then it's old. I think it came
Or
out.
maybe I've seen him, but I don't know the English name to it. That
Oh, okay.
might be true too, because over here when we get a movie from the States, unlike some other countries, they're going to be translated. They have a German voice to it, they synchronize it. And and they have their own title as well.
Yeah.
So maybe I don't know the name, and maybe I've seen it, but I don't know.
I did not think of it that way. Okay.
What they have, for example, in the Netherlands, which is our neighbor country, they don't translate it to their language. They have undertitles,
Okay.
have the original voice and in English, and then they have undertitles in their Dutch language.
Gotcha.
But over here, Germany, they'll get translated. You can also see the originals. Our daughter likes to do that to improve on her English. She watches the original in English. Mostly I haven't. I've seen them in German. I learned my English another way. Yeah, but so I can't tell if I have seen them or not.
All right. The one that I've seen, I'm sure you've picked up on it. I'm a police officer in the real world. When I'm not square dance calling, but I used to work at a movie theater on the weekends just for security. And so I got to watch a ton of movies, and it was a Dutch-German film. It's called The Black Book.
Okay.
And it was that way. It was English in the closed caption on the bottom, so you had to read it. And I was like, I'd never go pay to watch a movie like that. But since I worked there, I could just go watching it. Great movie. Love the movie. Very good story and everything like that. But yeah, I read the whole thing, and I thought, well, I might could watch more movies. I just haven't. But yeah. But listening to it, I thought there's no way I could speak these languages at all. I mean, it's not a clue.
Well, but that's the way the people from the Netherlands or other countries, I think Sweden and Denmark is the same. That's the way they learn a lot of their English, through the American movies coming over, being in the original language.
Wow. So now the part of Germany you're in, I'm not aware of, but if you could live somewhere, would it be beach, mountains, deserts, or plains?
Beach and mountains.
Okay.
Well, kind of both, yeah. Next vacation is going to be mountains.
Okay.
That'll be September, and we're going to Austria.
Austria, okay.
Yes.
My wife and I, we've never been that direction. We've gone to Japan once because our son was over there in the military. At some point, we plan on going the other direction, whether it be fly over and take a cruise, something like that. Obviously, want to go through. I want to drink some beer in Ireland, Scotland, and all that, and Scotch, obviously, and would love to come over to Germany. I think my heritage in Germany, but I don't know. I have no idea what my heritage is, but I'd like to come over that way just to see stuff we've never been before. Like to go to Italy, things like that. At some point, I can retire in about a year from what I do on a weekly basis, and maybe we can travel some more. And
whenever you come over,
somebody in Germany, absolutely.
And I can tell you, I've been to Ireland several times. It's great. Ireland's a great country.
Yeah, I'd love to go to Ireland, Scotland, get over there and do that.
Yeah.
That's
I want to go to Scotland again. I've been there once, but I want to go there again, see some distilleries, and they've got great nature. So that's what I want to see. Go to some of the islands there, where they have the strong whiskey made. What's it called? Isla is the island that I want to go to.
Okay.
Isle of Isla.
I've heard of it. Yep.
Yeah.
I meant to ask you when we first started, do you go by Philip or Phil or what is it?
Well, my name is Philip. You can call me Phil if you want. I used to call myself that way when I was younger in square dancing, but yeah, I gave up on that. I'm Philip, but if you want to call me Phil, that's fine.
No, I didn't know if it worked out over here. Typically, people would call themselves Phil. I know a couple of Philips, but I was just wondering. I meant to ask you that start now. So.
Well, I mentioned Al Stevens before, and he called me Flipper.
Okay.
If you speak Philip real fast, it becomes Flip, and he added an ER, so he called me Flipper.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll stick with Philip then. It's probably better than Flipper.
That's okay.
Okay. Well, man, it has been a pleasure. Is there anything I know? So very happy to find out that I'm going to get to meet you in February. Looking forward to that, and that we have something in common besides square dancing, and that is Scotch whiskey. So I'm looking forward to that. Anything else you want to put out there before we go, buddy?
Not at this point, I think. No.
Okay. All right. You got any more music coming out, or the California is the latest one?
Yes, I've got music coming out.
Okay.
I just don't know when. I had some music produced myself, which will be out on Throwback. That's right. Two of the songs are songs that I've written myself, and another one from a Scottish band that'll be out. I just don't know when they're coming out. I still have to work on the vocals, and then there's other songs that come before. We'll wait and see. But there's more music coming. I
look forward to hearing it, brother. Well, yeah. Philip, it has been a pleasure, man. I'm certainly glad that we ran up on this, and we have a lot of contact through Facebook is how we originally met. And so it's really worked out. I'm glad you did this with me tonight. It has been a pleasure. Philipp Kamm from Germany. I will see you in February, and I'll see you on Facebook some more from now till then. All right.
All right.
Philip,
thanks for having me.
Brother.
It was a pleasure, and yeah, see you.
Yes, sir.